Yes.
One.
Oh,
Chad, let me know when you want to start recording.
Okay, give us 15 seconds and we'll be ready.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
$15 second silence.
Oh, one. All right.
Roll call.
See where it says recording. So we're gonna go ahead. We'll go ahead and
give
get
us 15
started.
seconds and we'll be
I'd
ready.
like to call our meeting to order.
Yes.
September 11th, 2020. And the first item on our agenda today is to consider the BG1 for the roof repairs at the Muhlenberg County High School, both East and West Campus. And I'll turn that over to Eric.
Thank you, Chairman Rager. I didn't realize I still had the moon background. Anyway, this is for just getting the roofs resurfaced at both East and West Campus, and it's the total is $587,167, but that's with residual funds built in. We more than 99% will not even touch that. So that's got the architect that we have to hire per KDE and the residual funds that are in that, because it was 521 with the construction costs, and then we had to put an architect fee of 40,000 in there. But and a lot of times, sometimes the architects don't charge that much, being that it's a roof. But I'm not certain if these guys will do that or not. We got it budget.
They will.
What's that?
I said, from my experience, they will.
Yeah.
All
Are there any
right.
questions?
How many bids do we have?
We got off the state bid list, and we're using the company that did, I believe it was Longest Elementary, and that's preferred roof, preferred construction, and they're ones that stand behind their work. They're the ones that came over to the ALC on Sunday. They were there the very next day, so they're a good company to work with. So that's what we've kind of opted for.
Okay. Any warranties?
20-year. And then at the end of 20 years, they also said that we could put another skim coat on it and extend it for another 10 years.
And I know, Eric, you said that that these people are the ones that when they tell you they're going to do a finish date, they make the finish date, and if you call them, they're there.
Yes.
On time.
Yes, they're a rarity.
Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Is there any more discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve the BG1 for the roofs for the East and West Campus.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Bowers. I'll second. All in favor of considering the BG1 for the roof repairs at Muhlenberg County High School East and West campuses, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. We'll go on down to the next item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Considering the in-person instructional options, and Mr. Davis, I'll let you take over.
Thanks, Chairman Rager, board members. If only mine was as simple as A, that would be nice. This is a little more in depth. So I want to start off though by it is 9/11, and I do want to say first responders, thumbs up. You guys are awesome. Our folks around here are awesome. Always great to the schools. So I just want to throw that out there. So I'm going to jump into another difficult decision that we've been talking about a long time with a lot of different people, and I kind of go through it, answer any questions that you can jump in anytime, but I'm going to try to stick to my notes, or I could talk 2 hours on something like this, but I'll try to stick to the notes. But basically, what I'm going to recommend is that we come back with an in-person AB option on September 21st, which is the week from Monday. And we do that for the 2 weeks leading up to fall break. As part of the same, I think the same motion or whatever, if we do this, I also recommend we stay virtual for 2 weeks after fall break. We'll talk about what we may come back into after that. So I'm going to talk through both of those things. And again, jump in time, raise your hand, whatever, if you need me to slow down. But I want to talk about the reasoning, because this is not easy and this is not simple. And once again, you guys, I have lost sleep over it a little bit. That's what we're paid to do. Well, y'all don't get paid. That's what I'm paid to do. And I understand that. So I've heard from folks, just like the sports thing. I've heard from some folks on both sides of what's best, and you try to weigh that. So here's my reasoning. We have had September 21st as a target date for a long time. I think early August, I believe. I don't remember when we made that call, but we were kind of the first ones that went out there on that September 21st thing, and folks have kind of come to us on that. But we've been shooting for that date for a while. And we put that out to our parents, to our community, to our kids, and of course our staff as well. That's been on the books and something that we've hoped for now. So what we did, let me back up a second. What we did is before virtual even started, we asked our folks, our parents, do you want your kid in person or virtual? And they made the choices, and we separated them all 100% ready to go. Whenever we decided to flip that switch, we're thinking it would be September 21st. Then a kink got thrown into that last week or the week before, where they changed the mask rule. And the rule changed to you have to wear a mask all day, regardless if you're 6 feet apart or further. Well, that changed a lot of parents' thinking, because that was a selling point. And I had said that, I felt very badly having to go back on that, because that's what I told parents we were going to do. That's what we talked about. And then we got different guidance that I don't think I can just ignore. That's where I am on that. So that comes out, and now we've had several drop out back to virtual. They had that option. So, okay, we made those adjustments, and we're about there now to where, okay, now we know who's in now and who's out. We probably have 100, 150 kids who dropped back out into virtual after that mask mandate changed. I was hoping it would change back, but as of now, it doesn't appear that it's going to be. So that date's been out there for a while. We've been working towards it. And guys, this is the one thing that everybody agrees on. We want to see our kids. We want to see our kids, not all of them, we won't see them all, but we're going to see some kids that we haven't seen in 6 full months. And I really just don't want to wait another month to see them, even though it's just for 2 weeks. And you're like, boy, you're not there very long. And what? I understand all that. But part of my reasoning is if I can look some kids in the eyes in 2 weeks that we haven't seen in that long, that's a huge plus. And we all agree on that. We all want to see them, even though we know it won't be all of them. And it's not just for instructional purposes. That's such a mental health thing for some of those kids, getting back in and seeing these people that they trust and like, the adults, and seeing some friends, even though it won't be like normal school as they know it, it's still going to be a huge boost, I think, for them to get back in, for us to see them. So that's obviously huge. The goal for delaying the in-person, when we said, hey, we're going to try to wait till September 21st, one of the reasons was, of course, safety. Our numbers were kind of up then. But another reason was that would give us some time to work on the virtual part of it, to work on the Chromebooks that we had and get those out. Even though K through 2, hanging there, guys, we're still waiting on Chromebooks. Hopefully they'll be in soon. But it gave us time to focus on just that instead of trying to do both. And that's a work in progress, but I'm telling you, I'm so proud of our folks as I go through and see them trying to work through this. And for some folks, it's not that difficult. Well, it's still difficult, but they're good at technology. For some, that's been really tough. And I need our parents out there to know how hard they've worked to meet the needs of their kids. And we're still missing some. There are some that just don't have the connectivity. Some still don't have the Chromebook. For whatever reason, we're still not quite getting to reach some. And I want to say this to parents now as an encouragement. if you have a child and you guys don't have connectivity, you don't have the ability to go virtual and make that work. And I'm hearing that, hey, it's not working for us. Whenever we have an in-person option, whatever that may be, I want to encourage those parents, please send your kid. Now, if you've got health concerns and all that, I understand that. But try to get your kids in so we can serve them better. It's hard for us to reach some, and it always will be. So, again, thumbs up to our folks for what they've done so far. Now, guys, make no mistake, by going back, whenever we do it, it adds a lot of stress. It adds a lot of anxiety. It adds a lot of changes and pressures and things that now that we've never done before yet again. And it doesn't matter when that is, we're going to have that issue. Safety being one, obviously safety. I don't want to gloss over that. That's still the huge driving force behind everything. When we bring folks back in, no matter how safe we are or what all precautions we put in, and we will, there's more chance of being contagious, more chance of being together and having more positives, and that's true, and that worries you, that's scary. So that's one of the things. But even past that, by going back in person, which again we haven't done this yet, there's some things that I want to talk about that I need our folks to know that we're doing, that we're trying to do to serve their kids. Transportation changes. I mean, this is one now. You've got to decide who's in, who's out, which routes. Do you combine routes? How does that work? I mean, that's a chore. No matter when we do this, that's a chore. And I ask for our folks to be patient with us on that. We may not be, if we're supposed to be there at 7:50, it may not be 7:50 for a while. So I ask for some patience as we work through that. Feeding is going to be different. We'll figure it out. But again, yet another change is sometimes when they're in person, you got to take care of those folks, and then we got to figure out how to take care of the ones at home. And on a Wednesday, they're all at home. So the feeding is absolutely impacted. But I really want to talk about instruction. The stress is here. I've heard from a lot of teachers, and honestly, I've heard on both sides. Please let us come. I'm really worried about coming. And I need to be careful how I say this. The reason the stress is there for our teachers is not because they're lazy. It's not because they don't care. It's not because they want it easy. The reason the stress is there, and I've read multiple emails that are very impactful from people I greatly respect. The reason is the stress is, can we serve our kids in person and the ones at home and do either of them justice? The worry is, is it going to dilute both ways where honestly we're better off just trying to do virtual? Even though we're not great at it yet, we're working on it. That's real. That concern and that stress is real. And I need our parents to hear that and to know, as we try to figure out how to instruct your kids and move them forward. That's tough when you've got one person, the same teacher now, and now you've got some at home and some at school. There's no way around that. I'm praying for the respect for our teachers that are asked to do this, because it's not easy, and we are looking for solutions. Spent all day yesterday meeting with other superintendents from other districts, meeting with some of our principals with their concerns that they are relaying. Some I've already heard. So the folks who I've heard from, the folks who you've heard from, much respect in the way they said it, the professionalism with which they do it. That's nice. That's nice to read and hear from folks who know how to try to persuade you and say their point without screaming at you and blasting you and thinking that your motives are wrong. Our motives are we're trying to do right here, but I want to say that gives you pause. That makes you think. That's tough for our folks, and I recognize that. I was a teacher. My wife was a teacher, and I think back, I struggle with technology. So wow, what's that going to be like? So I get that, and your voices have heard it. Yes, I make this recommendation in spite of that, but it doesn't mean I didn't hear that. It doesn't mean that doesn't resonate, and that doesn't worry me. So I just want to say that I need to get that out there to our parents, but also to those teachers. And honestly, in high school, it's probably the worst because you have more you have more preps, and then you try to maybe have 4 or 5 preps, and so different classes is what that means, and then also all those at home. So very real concerns there. I understand that. The reason I want to do this now, another reason is there's a good chance our numbers, by that I mean our positivity and quarantine numbers, may be higher later on. They're very likely to. Right now our numbers are pretty low, relatively low. Shout out to our sports teams too, by all accounts, doing what they're supposed to be doing and that going well. But I have talked to Kathy Bethel about all this yesterday, and she's on board with everything I'm saying. She supports fully. But, you know, she cautioned me. She said, Rob, if you don't go now, you understand, you may not get a chance for a while, depending on what happens over fall break and just an outbreak from anywhere. That could absolutely happen at any time. And I will tell you guys, if I knew there was a vaccine coming tomorrow and that people would take it and it would be effective and this would be over by the end of October, I'd say let's stay down. I would say let's just stay virtual and work on that and get better at that and focus on that until we can all come back. But the fact is, it feels like to me this virus is going to be around a while and we're going to be dealing with this, actually it feels like indefinitely, unfortunately. So these concerns that are so real, we have to find a way to try to work through them. And I'm thinking those 2 weeks will allow us to, I know it's just 2 weeks, I hear that, but it is 2 weeks. And right now, some of the fear is the fear of the unknown. And once we try it, it may be fear of the known. It may be, okay, this is as bad as I thought. But it also gives us some information to base where do we go from here on? How do we improve? We've got to kind of try this at some point, and that's why going to 2 weeks and then kind of taking the 2 weeks after for safety reasons, but it also gives us time to reflect on what did we learn those 2 weeks. Yes, it could be a tumultuous 2 weeks. I understand that. And if it's to that point that we have to adjust and look at something different, then I think we need to have that option open. I think we need to consider that. But those 2 weeks will allow us to get conversations going and learn things that honestly we think right now, but we may not know. I talked to several other superintendents yesterday. Other districts are working through this same issue. And as far as I know, all are coming back before fall break. And I know McLean County changed and they're back in September 21st or 28th too. But the good thing about that is we can talk with them and try to learn from each other. We're all facing the same problems. The teachers are facing the same issues. The whole at-home and virtual thing, I mean, that's one that's, you know, we talked about some possible partial solutions yesterday, and those guys gave me some other possible partial solutions, but they're facing the same problems. So we will collaborate with them. I do every week already. I will say this. I talked to 3 other superintendents yesterday whose districts have started already. And that's Bowling Green. Of course, I know Warren's going as well. Webster County, and then another one from a little further off. And they are very positive about the experience, although they've had problems and they've had to adjust. And there are things that they didn't know till they started. And now that they've started, they're like, oh, okay, this went better than I ever thought it would, but this is worse. So, you know, one that's been in 2 weeks, I asked, you know, was it worth it if I could go 2 weeks? Absolutely. Go is what they said. But, you know, again, it doesn't mean it's not going to be difficult, because they definitely stressed that. Somehow Bowling Green and Warren have been able to stay in. I know they're kind of a hot spot county-wide, but they've been able to stay in even through some issues. So, you know, that is something I want to mention as well. And I know, gosh, I know, seems like over and over, each decision we make, it's good for some and it's not for some others. And I get that. And what I want more than anything out of this is, because at the end of the day, my job is to do what I think is best. That's my recommendation, and that's what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, you want to come through this together, and you want to come through it with people who may disagree with you, that they understand you've considered their side. You understand that what they feel and think matters. And I'll say again before I move on a little that I ask for the support of the public. Guys, it's tough. And I know I totally understand other businesses. Rajiv, you own businesses. Kim, you've got things going on. You know, y'all all work at places. They're facing hardships too, and they're having to adjust. I understand all that. We're doing it with 4,400 kids, 4,300, and 700 employees, and trying to take care of some at home and some here and get all those logistics working out. So I do ask for patience for our folks, and I'm going to tell you, maybe I'm looking for utopia, but a word of encouragement is powerful. And I ask for that. Some of those Facebook posts, I don't see Facebook, but when you get on there and blast away, yeah, it chips away at you when you know how hard you're working to try to meet the needs of the kids. And then you get hit like that. You know, my skin's gotten a little thicker over the years, but when you're a teacher or a bus driver, whomever you may be, board member, that's tough. So a positive word, if you guys out there, anybody hearing me that's willing to do that, we appreciate that because we are trying. Moving on just for a little bit, the 2 weeks after fall break, I do recommend we go virtual. I see both sides of that as well. The main reason being that, you know, we'd like to minimize the spread and the resulting positive cases and quarantines. So let's be honest, people are going to travel. And yeah, I think Florida is off the list, which is awesome, but it's also still likely to become a hot spot again, maybe after, you know, some folks are down there. But you know, some's going to be brought back to the county. That's what Kathy kept stressing. It's going to happen. And by being down 2 weeks, that minimizes some of that spread. And it feels like it gives us a better chance to go further into the fall, maybe in winter, without having to be down. At least that's the hope. That's the reasoning behind that. It also, though, allows us some time to reflect on what we learned in those 2 weeks and try to maybe come up with a better plan or refine the plan we've got in place or whatever. So it allows that. I do want to say to parents, no matter what we do, we will always have virtual. I say always. Indefinitely, we'll have virtual as an option. I need to make sure I say that. I don't see that changing, you know, anytime soon. So the problems we're facing could go all year on the whole in-person and virtual thing, unfortunately. And again, no matter how we vote, this whole plan, this is Kathy Bethel saying, make sure you say this. This could change next week if we have a jump in cases. That's what we're going to face. Whenever we go back, it does add stress to all people in the school system. It feels like the end of each day, we're going to have to look at numbers. Do we have too many staff members quarantined? Can we do this? Do we have enough bus drivers to do this? Do we have enough food service folks? You know, right now we're in good shape. Really good shape, actually. But that could absolutely change in a few days. So I heard of one district, I think 2 positive cases led to close to 50 quarantines for 14 days. And that's kids and staff. So that's the reality of it. So, you know, I want to acknowledge that. So at the end of my whatever it is, my thoughts. Here's what I know. We won't be perfect. We will fall short. We're going to fall short sometimes. There will be glitches. I guarantee it. But I know this. I know we'll learn, and I know we'll adjust. I know we'll give our kids our best, whatever we do. Even the ones that are hesitant and worried about it, I know they're going to give their best. And I know that we just can't let this defeat us. And it's so easy to beat us down to where, you know, it feels like we just can't do it. Because, guys, our folks, you know, and I'm focusing on teachers a little more this time because this is where it really ramps up for them. They have to have time to be a mom and a wife or a dad and a husband. That has to play in. This can't be 24/7. And right now, I mean, that's what it's felt like to me 24/7, honestly, since March. And that's not great. That's not mentally great at all. So when they say they're stressed and they're worried about this, it's because they don't know when to turn the switch off. They don't know that sometimes you have to have some parameters that, right now, I can't serve my kids. I got to serve my family. And that's what we've got to figure out. And I hope those 2 weeks allows us to figure out something along those lines. So again, at the end of the day, you've heard my recommendation. It doesn't come without stress and pause and realizing that some people are not happy with this for all the right reasons. But I've got to do, my recommendation has to be what I truly think is best at the end of the day, no matter what heat that may bring. And that's where I am. That's my reasoning for it. And I'm going to sign off now and let you guys do what you do or ask me any questions you may want to ask.
Mr. Davis,
Yes, sir.
can you talk a little bit about certain teachers, certain grade level, getting some extra help as needed?
Well, it's hard to get into specifics now, but I will say that, we met with some yesterday. I will say this as a rule. Don't take this, that elementary, this is a breeze, because it's not. But as a rule, as you go to middle and then to high, you add more because they have to teach more things. Maybe if you're elementary, maybe in some cases, not all, but maybe the kids have the same classes. You can kind of work through some problems there easier. Maybe even have one teacher who focuses on virtual. As you get into middle and high, that gets more and more difficult. So we do recognize that we're trying to think, what can we do with those folks in particular? Is there a virtual platform that we can have our kids use that doesn't require the teacher trying to reach out and teach that as well as the ones in person? So maybe something like the MOVE program, potentially like Play-Doh. Some other districts said, hey, we're going to try to use that. So that's something that we would consider, or we can even bring somebody in that can somehow take some off of you, knowing that you can't do it all. Some things only teachers can do, but we're open to all of that. And those is what, I reached out to other districts yesterday and I said, let's brainstorm those ideas, because they're having the same concerns. They're having the same worries. And they had a couple of ideas that I did share with Donna. I met with Ron and Jerry yesterday, as we try to ease that stress, because the more we can ease that load, the better we can truly serve our kids. So thank you for asking that question, Rajiv. We are definitely, we'll look at that. And honestly, I think we may have some better thoughts on that after we've tried 2 weeks. We may realize a little more, now we need this, or we can do this. And maybe we can even shift some personnel to help with that some. But some of that we kind of don't know until we try.
Because a lot of teachers who wrote email to me and the other board members, I believe, their main concern, they want to be good at what they do. They want to perform well, just don't want to kill time and, so forth. And their concerns are very, very, very right. Every one of them, had a very positive concern about it. And at the same time, they are the team, they will do whatever is needed.
That's what I've heard too, Rajiv. And now don't get me wrong, I've gotten emails and texts from others who are saying we're really nervous about this and worried about it, but please send the kids in spite of it. But all the ones that you're probably talking about, or at least several, I heard from too, I have the greatest respect for them. And when they say it's not somebody trying to get out of work or whining or anything, it is just concern.
Yes.
And I get it. And I totally acknowledge that. But the thing I'm worried about is if we don't figure out how to work through this and figure out how to do this and take some load off, because we have to do that, then we're going to be out forever. It feels like that, because I just don't see this going away. So all that, Rajiv, you said it well. I couldn't agree more. The folks that I heard from, I don't hear from usually, unless they're very positive about something. And at the end of it, when they say, whatever you do though, we're gonna be happy to see your kids, and we're gonna try to make this work. But when those folks speak out, you got to listen. And I have listened, and so I made this recommendation in spite of it, and I tried to go through my reasoning. But yes, absolutely, that's real, and the stress is real. And the thing is, when you add something, you'd like to take something off. When this one, it feels like you're adding something and you're not able to take something off, and like, hold it, I'm already crazy. I understand. So we're going to try this. If you guys approve this, we're going to try this for those 2 weeks. Then I will survey the staff. And I will probably say so I can at least get some out, because there will be some. What are some good things that happen? And talk to me about your concerns now that we've tried this for a couple of weeks, because ultimately, guys, at the end of the day, I want to get back to 5 days. I want to get back to 5 days a week is what is the goal. And how soon can we do that? And if you take that mask thing out, that may change the equation on how we think a little bit. Now, it changes transportation, feeding, Kathy Bethel involved, a whole nother plan. But I would love to get to 5 days as soon as we can. And you're like, well, why don't you just go ahead and try 5 days in a week? We can't reach parents and change everything that soon. So we're going to try this, but maybe when we go back sooner rather than later, maybe we do consider the 5 days. However, that concern will still be there, Rajiv, that some kids being virtual and some in is still going to be there. I don't see when it's going to end, because to the parents out there listening, we can do anything for two or 3 days or a day or whatever. We'll work all day and all night. But when you're asking to try to do this for a long period of time, we've got to come up with a solution that minimizes that load that they're feeling right now.
Sure.
And I agree with what Rajiv said, and with all the emails that we've received, I probably received more on this topic than since I've been a board member. And he said it exactly right. No matter what, they're going to do what's best for the students. And I'm just want to say thank you for reaching out in the manner that you did so professionally. And I've struggled with this just like I did sports. I was driving to work this morning just praying, give me the guidance to make the right decision. And after listening to Mr. Davis, I think, using the 2 weeks as a test period, if anything else, to learn from it and learning from other districts to make us better, but at the same time being willing to be flexible and be willing to provide or search for that additional help, especially for, the higher grades where it is a little bit more complicated. So, but I do want to thank everybody for reaching out.
Yes.
I agree. And I've just got a question. I don't know if you can answer or not. But when we were speaking earlier, it came up about the number of kids that we still don't have internet connection for, or they don't have transportation to a hotspot or anything like that. And they're probably on virtual or not virtual, but the paper version of their schoolwork. About what percentage of students in our county are doing that right now that don't have any type of, no checking in virtually or anything like that? Do you know approximately?
I can maybe try to get that for you for next Thursday, Stephanie. I don't know now. It seems like as I go through and talk to teachers, the ones I've talked to, they'll say, there's a couple in their class that they haven't been able to. So I don't think it's a great deal. And some of it is they're just kind of blowing it off. And some of it is it's real and they can't do it. That's why I'm encouraging our parents, when if you're okay with it, please consider the in-person option when we give it to you, because that's what we need to move them forward. And some of the ones, unfortunately, that I think they need it the most, they've chosen virtual. Now I can't know their hearts. They may be too. Kim's gone through something that we haven't gone through, and that's gonna make you think a certain way. So I don't know that, but as a rule, I'm saying, hey, if you can come if you don't have that option to do the virtual. And we'll keep trying to push that, but I don't have that number. I'll try to talk to principals to get a better feel for it and tell you either sooner or by next Thursday.
Okay, that's fine. I just kind of wondered about how many students we're looking at in that situation. But just as you said, we're getting to a time where we're going to hit our flu season. We're going to hit our strep throat season. Kids are going to be coming into schools. They're going to be having fever, possibly sore throats, symptoms that would be consistent with what, would alert us to a possible COVID diagnosis. So, I know it's getting to be a scary time. This is just, unfortunately, as a nurse, we don't know when the end's going to be either, we keep hoping it's soon, but we're not seeing a light at the end of the tunnel yet. However, I feel like our county our county, when you look at other districts and their numbers, our county's doing really well. So I feel like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. If we can just continue that, get through a couple of weeks of school, see what things are not going so well and maybe what is, improve on the things that we need to improve on, and hopefully, as Mr. Davis says, you can look at 5 days a week in the near future. And we all know that's what's best for the kids is their education and having that in person and that relationship with their teachers. I feel like, virtually, as a mom of a high schooler, it's a little bit more aggravating. You can't just raise your hand and ask a question. You're going to email. But in the emails that we've received from teachers, all board members and all, I can totally understand both sides of the equation. Everything makes sense, but nothing makes sense, if that makes any sense at all. We've all had to change the way we do things. It's created more work. It's created more aggravation, frustration, any emotion you can name. We've all probably had that in, the last 6 months, and our kids have too. But the one thing that our kids, I feel like, know from the time that they're young is, we've got 13 years of school to go through. You got to be there. You got to, build relationships and learn how to cope with situations, And I feel like our teachers are the driving factor in our children learning a lot of those skills, because they have our kids every day, every day except for summer. And that's important. That's really important to these kids. Some of these kids, their teachers are the only source of consistency that they have in their daily lives. So I just, I know we all know, and all of the studies show, kids being in school is the best option. How do we get there? The jury's out. We don't know, but we're working on trying to figure out a way, and so is everyone else. So we just have to, as Susan said, pray about it and hope we make the best decision for our kids, keep our staff in mind. Hopefully we can get, help for our staff that they need. I know they need more. I know they do. And we are open to giving you that as you see fit. So, we support our staff and our students.
I will tell you, Stephanie, a story that's not inspiring, but it's true. Bowling Green superintendent said their first day, they're fired up, everybody's fired up. Said one of the first kids, an elementary kid, walked in the door and threw up immediately. and then goes into panic mode, and and he said, but we worked through it, and that's kind of what we do. We're going to have those situations too. I've spent a lot of time talking about what's going on with teachers because that's so real. That's a factor people don't think about. But the safety and all that too, that's another added stressor, and for everybody involved.
All right. And just a little story. Yesterday, I'm going to throw this out there for our teachers. I had a patient that was a teacher, middle school teacher from another county, and she was a COVID patient, struggling to breathe, having some issues, but I spent probably more time in her room than my other patient who was not doing as bad. But just talking with her, and, I told her my position as a school board member and, the struggles and just all the conversations and all the efforts that, everyone has put forth during the last 6 months of this pandemic. And she said, as a teacher, she said, there's so many feelings that go through your mind. She said, we all want our kids. We all want to see our kids and be with our kids. And, otherwise, she said, why else would you become a teacher if you don't want to, teach your kids and have your kids in your classrooms every day? She's like, but as a board member, she said, I wouldn't want to be in your position. She said, I don't even know what to tell you to do, or what she would even suggest that we do, as far as a right answer or wrong answer. But I kind of felt comfort having her yesterday, and I almost felt like it was a sign that I got her as a patient yesterday before our board meeting today. But very pleasant. And the most touching thing was when she was feeling better, she had her family bring in poster boards and markers and different things. And she was making posters and stuff for her classroom for when they go back and when she gets better and can go back to her classroom. So, just seeing that and her being sick and doing what she loves to do, and thinking about her kids, I mean, it meant a lot to me to have her yesterday. So,
Stephanie, I'll share a really quick story about one of our high school teachers, a new one Miss Bump shared yesterday, who was sick, not COVID, but sick with a fever, and was out in the parking lot getting Wi-Fi apparently, still connecting with kids, ends up in the hospital, as I understand it, pneumonia, double pneumonia, I think, and teaching kids from a hospital.
mm-hmm.
That's who we are.
Yeah.
That's who they are, and that's what hurts me personally. Whenever you see some, I don't see them, hear some of the comments that's sometimes made when I know, yes, we're not all perfect, but I know the hearts and the minds of our folks and what we're trying to do. And there's more stories like that than by far anything bad. I just wish I could do a better job of making the public see that and understand that and appreciating our folks who are trying their best to take care of kids during a pandemic.
It's hard.
I'd like as you all know, I talked about this just a little bit at the last meeting. I have 3 family members who have been affected by COVID-19, one of which was my beloved brother, who I lost the day before yesterday. And I would like to say this publicly. It wasn't his lack of faith that caused him to get COVID-19 or lack of belief in his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It was because he had underlying conditions. And I want to make that very clear because I would just tell you that some people in the community have been unkind as to the reasons that some people get COVID-19, and that has nothing to do with it. It is, if you get COVID-19, it's either because you've been directly exposed to it or that you have an underlying condition that you have been exposed to it and your body just simply cannot take any more. I've had so many emails from teachers, many of whom are parents, so they're pulling both sides of this. They're a teacher and a parent. And I can tell you, because I'm not a parent, I cannot imagine the stress you're under trying to, number one, keep your family safe, and number 2, trying to prepare for an unknown school year. As a teacher, I know how early you go in. I know how long you stay late. I know how well you prepare your lesson plans, because our district has been phenomenal in the past, and it will be, and it is today, and it will be again. My number one concern is for the health and safety of the kids and the teachers and the families in our community. And you guys know this. I've read and reread the July 23rd, 2020 CDC guidelines for why it's important for students to get back into schools and have schools reopening. And it's a powerful document. And if you haven't read it yet, I urge you to read it. It's July 23rd, called The Importance of Reopening Schools. We voted to allow sports last week. I believe it was it last week or week before? Everything's been a blur, but anyhow, we voted to allow sports to return. And that was a very hard decision, as you all know. We've all lost sleep over it, all the board members. It's not an easy decision to put students or teachers or families, what we refer to, in harm's way. It's a tough decision. And I can't even begin to explain the anguish that my family has gone through during all of this and trying to make a decision as a board member to what is best for our students and everyone involved. There's no right answer. I wish there were. I wish to God I had a crystal ball that would say, this is what you do, Kim. And I know Mr. Davis and the other board members feel the same way. But there is no right answer right now. But what we do have to do is have faith that we are doing the right thing, number one, for our students. And I firmly believe that going back to class, either virtually as parents choose or in person in an A/B schedule, is something that we need to do right now to at least know what to do in the future. because if we don't start, I fear that we won't be able to start until after the winter break. We have to know what this is going to be. We have to know how to prepare. And going these 2 weeks, I believe, will prepare us to know what to do after. So that's what I have to say today. I had a whole bunch of other stuff written down, but I'm going to spare you all of that. All I will say is God bless us all. And I will tell you, this has been the hardest decision, the second hardest decision I think I've made in recent times.
Thank you. Is there any? If not, I guess that I need a motion on the floor.
I will make a motion that we go back to school on the AB schedule and then take the 2 weeks after fall break and back to virtual.
I second that.
Okay. I have a motion, and I'm going to clarify, Mr. Bowers, and that is to do the AB schedule until fall break.
Until fall break.
And then after fall break, we will do
Go
a
back
2-week virtual.
2 weeks.
Is that right?
Yes.
For 2 weeks after fall break.
Right.
Right.
So 2-week AB schedule, fall break, and 2-week virtual following.
And this is
That's
just, yeah.
And Stephanie, I'm not supposed to be involved in this. I'm not, but to say that we'll be talking in between now and then what it looks like after that, you know. So that's kind of to be determined a little bit.
So after fall break and the 2-week virtual motion, during that time, it'll be assessed and reevaluated as to where to go after that period.
Come back together.
So I have a motion by Mr. Bowers and Mr. Johar second.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to do a roll call also for this vote, just so we're clear in who is voting how. So all in favor of the proposed 2-week AB schedule, then fall break and 2-week virtual following fall break, with a reassessment during that time as to what we will do following the 2 weeks. Ms. Bard, what's your vote?
I vote yes.
Ms. Bard votes yes. Mr. Johar?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Wells?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Bowers?
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. So the motion has passed 5-0. We will do an AB schedule starting September the 21st. And that will be for 2 weeks. Then we will have fall break, and then a 2-week return to virtual after fall break. And then during that time, we will reassess to see what steps need to be taken next for our education. So that is it. The motion passes. And I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a
So
motion
moved.
to.
Go ahead.
A motion by Ms. Bard,
Second.
and a second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Uh,
Aye. All opposed? I hear none, and we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank
You're
you. You too.